This seems pretty awful. A bunch of kids went into a school and moited each other. Wow. Sounds so awful? It sounds like today's topic, which is going to be Danganronpa V3. Now I'm gonna apologize in advance by saying that a lot of these videos might be pretty light in theatrics and mostly consist of the review since I don't really have any time. But without further delay, let's get into Danganronpa V3 Killing Harmony. Danganronpa, for the crowd out there that's asking who is this Danganronpa guy is, it's a series of Japanese murder mystery visual novels that deal with a set of high school students that are trapped in a locale and pitted to moita each other to get out. And if you don't know what a visual novel is and never played one, then it's basically described as, well, like a visual novel? Basically, visual novels represent a genre of game where you read through a lot of text to progress through a game. A lot of the time, these visual novels tend to have little to no interactive elements where you're really just watching a story play around or go through. But in Danganronpa it's a little bit different. There are quite a few interactive elements, especially in the class trial. In the Danganronpa games, you play as some schmo who somehow got caught up in an awful killing game with 16 other people that you need to play in order to be free from the purgatorial life you live in. In this sort of purgatory, which is in a school for the first Danganronpa, a set of islands in the second, and in Danganronpa V3, an academy, is where you'll live the rest of your days till the day you die from old age, or something else entirely. As the only way to leave the academy is to kill one of your fellow students and go through what's called a class trial, in which you and the remaining survivors are pitted against each other to find the culprit. In the end of this class trial, you will be forced to choose who will be the murderer. When this happens, if you pick the correct person, the true murderer alone will be sent off to be executed, and the rest get to live on in the academy. But if you choose the wrong person, then everyone else instead of the blackened, which is the murderer, will be murdered and he or she will get to go free. After that, like in most games, you are doomed to go back to the academy to repeat killing people and having to go through class trials, until there are only 2 people left. Now, one little detail that I miss is that each one of the high school students that get stuck in these killing games is an ultimate of some sort. They can range from the ultimate inventor, to the ultimate cook, to even the ultimate supreme leader. All of these guys have some sort of skill that they excel in, and hence why they're called the ultimate. Each one of these ultimates brings their own personality and quirks onto the table, which can provide moments that are both incredibly hilarious and endearing to completely horrifying and despair-inducing. In the case of Danganronpa V3, you play the role of Kaede Akamatsu, an ultimate pianist who is trapped with another set of 16 students in the Ultimate Academy for Gifted Juveniles, which is controlled by Monokuma and the Mono Cubs, consisting of Monotaro, Monofanny, Monosuke, Monokitten, Monodam. Monokuma is the long-standing mascot of the Danganronpa series, and he's the guy who sets the events of all the games in motion, bringing in the premise, the characters, and the players in the killing game. At first, Monokuma might seem like the most annoying and downright goofiest character in media to be in charge of such a nefarious game, but you'll learn to love him as he's not just a genuinely well-written character, he's positively Tom-tier goofy. The Monocubs, on the other hand, are relatively new additions to the roster. Each one is modeled after their own father, Monokuma, and has their own quirky little personality, ranging from Monosuke's Brooklyn accent to Monofanny's repulsion of blood and gore. Now back to Kaede, who is joined by her trusty sort of sidekick friend Shuichi Saihara, who's known as this time around as the Ultimate Detective, which is the title shared with Kyoko Kirigiri from the previous 2 installments. Throughout the game, they'll learn to grow with each other as they are pitted through tougher and tougher mysteries that will test both their mettle and their friendships with other people, knowing that in each class trial, the murderer is amongst one of their friends. And since there's mysteries, you can bet your bottom dollar that there's going to be some investigating, and it is thoroughly enjoyable. When someone eventually ends up biting the dust, you are first tasked with investigating the crime scene. From here on out, the game changes from a less passive experience into a more active one, now that you're going through bodies, piles of clues and evidence, and a series of alibis which may or may not be lies. The investigation part is, in all honesty, not the most thrilling part of the investigation, because usually at first it will seem like a bunch of unrelated nonsense that may or may not be related to each other. During the initial investigation, you tend to pretty much click on every item on the screen to see if it reacts to anything and brings you a clue, which can become a little tedious since you don't really know when the investigation portions end, since when it ends, it is when Monokuma telling everybody, hey yo, time is up, head to the trial grounds. Though during these investigation segments, sometimes I find myself lost, kind of having to click through all the damn garbage to find what's out there. But, at the same time, they've made it a lot easier where they tell you where you need to go, and in general kind of streamlined a lot of the objects that you definitely need to see in order to progress the story. After the investigation is complete, everyone gathers at the Hall of Judgment to see the same damn Monokuma statue destroy the jar to be descended into the location in which the class trial will commence. Within this segment is where all will be let loose. Truths will be found, lies will be exposed, murderers will be punished, and dead friends will be avenged. And believe me when I say this is one wild ride. Each one starts off with the same screen where you get to change your difficulty and set your stats, which are little attributes that help you within certain segments of the class trial, which consist of a variety of minigames. The most common of these minigames is the non-stop debate, which you listen to all the characters give out their statements and speculation, and you have to figure out the truth or lies held within. In your arsenal is truth bullets, which is essentially the clues that you've gotten through your investigation. In the non-stop debates, you see the dialogue the other characters are saying, and in some sequences the dialogue will change to a yellow color, which is a segment that the truth bullet could be used on. In order to progress, you need to use the right bullet with the right statement, which can be incredibly annoying for some who might not get it right away, or forget a small piece of information found in the investigation that might agree or disagree with that statement. Nothing has really changed in this segment of the class trial, except for a new addition that's called perjury, and that's when you intentionally lie to steer the debate in a certain direction. These segments are actually the same as non-stop debates, and the only real difference is that you have to figure out which statement you want to deliberately lie about to make it work. Now, while it can be frustrating that you don't really know which one you're going to take a look at or which lie you need to use, what it brings to the table thematically to Danganronpa V3 is wholly satisfying. But from there on, new additions to the class trials are the Psych Taxi and Mind Minefield minigames that each can be a little fun, but ultimately kind of feel like busy work. In Psych Taxi, you drive an automobile down an on-rails track as you collect cubes to form letters in a sentence that ask certain questions. Once you have all the words, it will give you the few options, aka girls, to run over with the answers above their head to answer the question you just collected. If you get the questions right, you keep going. If not, you lose some letters and you have to try again. The other game is similar to Minesweeper in the sense that it asks you a question and you have to wipe out all the layers of mines to find the image that corresponds with the answer. In all honesty, the new minigames here, they tend to almost feel like padding, which is kind of odd because the class trials can already be 1 to 3 hours long, depending if you answer the questions correctly. From there on, the class goes through a series of twists and turns until you finally end up on a rhythm minigame where you convince or expose the culprit as the murderer. Now, while the minigame isn't necessarily the best out there, I will say I'm kinda have, a soft spot for rhythm games, so this one isn't too bad. I gotta say, the tunes kinda keep me hyped. Of course, the class trials aren't the only interactive elements of Danganronpa V3. With it come the usual free time and salmon mode? Starting with free time mode, we, get free time from investigating and discovering to go about and interact with your friends before they go out and moita some poor goon or get moited themselves. Now, you really can't do much in these segments, but you can spend time to get out and flesh out these characters to see that they are more than they seem. Now, the secondary mode, which is unlocked after completing the game, is Love Across the Universe, Danganronpa, or colloquially known as just Salmon Mode. Yeah, I know it's a weird name, but bear with me here. In this mode, which is similar to the previous two games' School Mode and Island Mode, is a bonus mode that follows a version of the main plot where there are no killings. Difference this time around is that there is no resource gathering and management aspect to the game, but it still retains the goofy as hell dating sim aspect. Essentially, you spend 10 in-game days to get max affection with one other character to win the game. In order to do this, you gotta go gamble at the casino in Dan Vegas to go grab date tickets. After you grab a date ticket, you go on little dates or adventures to get a heart piece that goes to the overall goal of collecting 10. Eventually, you might pick up a key of love to spend at the local love hotel on campus named Hotel Kumasutra. When you trigger one of these scenes, it presents the players with an incredibly goofy and schlocky love hotel date that can trigger a bigger reaction than putting Julius Evola on a loudspeaker. Now, while these new segments are pretty much just dumb, goofy fun, I do enjoy that they get to flesh out characters that might have already died in the executions or being moited by somebody else. Also, there's a dungeon crawling mode and some sort of poster or something mode that I didn't really play, so I can't genuinely rate whether it's worth playing or not, but it's there for your enjoyment, I guess. But let's take a step back and look at what makes the Danganronpa games, Danganronpa V3 especially, such interesting games. Similar to the previous games we looked at, Danganronpa is another game that lives and dies, literally, on its characterization. Throughout the course of the game, you'll grow to love at least some of the original 16 students that get trapped in the killing game, whether it be our player character Kaede that shows a certain force of compassion, or Kokichi Oma, the ultimate supreme leader for being such a bold and entertaining pathological liar. It's how these characters act that bring a large amount of the drama to the game, and especially in the class trials. When someone as gentle as Gonta, the ultimate entomologist, is being accused of something and his gentleman nature prevents him from saying something vindictive, it makes you want to yell at the screen to tell him to say something. And I know for a goddamn fact that some people might find the compulsive vulgarity-spewing Miyu Iruma, the ultimate inventor, to be incredibly annoying with her non-stop and masturbation jokes. That being said, Danganronpa is always self-aware with how the characters are, even if they're really incredibly annoying, so with it kind of brings a charm that it knows that it's pissing you off. As stated, Danganronpa has always been almost disgustingly self-aware since the very beginning, throwing inside jokes, references to various video games and anime, and all around just blatantly breaking the fourth wall every other second. Danganronpa V3 is no different, but in an interesting sort of turn of events, self-awareness and lying work hand in hand with each other to make some of the main themes of this installment. A large chunk of this game deals with how lies can change the course of realities in ways that we don't usually think, and some of which make you think that you've been played. Which you shouldn't worry because this game played us all. But let's take an example with the concept of honesty. In a killing game such as the one that we're in right now, is it not too much to say that maybe the dishonest ones are not the most dangerous? In a situation such as the killing game, you can actually trust in a dishonest person to lie or fabricate something from left field, but the ones that you do trust and the ones that you do believe to be honest can be much more impactful, and not to mention deadlier. It's these sort of oddballs that Danganronpa V3 get you to face head on and either come to accept or ignore to leave you in despair. But of course, that doesn't mean that the game is there to leave you in despair the entire way through, for it's not just a dramatic and horrifying game, but it's also frequently hilarious. Now, I'm not gonna lie that the humor in this game can be kind of rather niche, but somewhere in there is going to be a joke that you laugh at. And if you don't, well, you're almost kind of no better as a robot than Kibo. And of course, since we're talking about Danganronpa, we gotta talk about its great sense of style. Danganronpa has been renowned for having a truly distinct style and not just character design, but how it presents the world it lives in. All the characters are designed by the man Rui Komatsuki, who's brought a whole slew of fantastic characters throughout all the games with some truly goofy but unique designs. I'm not really sure how to put it, but if you put normal anime-inspired characters alongside a bunch of Danganronpa designs, I can pretty much point out which ones are the Danganronpa designs every damn time. I think it has to do with the hyper-detailed eyes, the thicker lines, and the way the neon pink blood pops out to make it such an interesting style that I've grown to love over the past 4 games. And of course, since this is another god-awful Tomthechosen1 review, we gotta talk about the soundtrack to Danganronpa, and as always, goddamn is it ever diverse and great. The soundtrack for this game ranges from toned-down, poppy track, to charming as hell chiptune, and darker and heavier electronica when the scene gets tense, like they do in the class trials. For example, at the start of most days while you're exploring the campus, you get a more calm but uplifting track called Beautiful Lie that almost warms you to the environment that you're in. You'll hear this track trying to discover the mysteries of the campus and over the course of the killing game, but what I love about it is the title, since it's indeed a beautiful lie. The existence of all 16 in this campus is a lie created especially for them and tailored for their every need in trying to kill each other. And while it might be beautiful, there's a darker mystique about the track that makes you feel that even then, there's something amiss. Another great, more subdued and classy track that I enjoy immensely is the track labeled Good Baronin that plays every time the Monokuma show up and do their goofy as hell antics. It's this jazz, bass-heavy track that truly convinces me that we are on the threshold of an amazing and cool adventure. Now, as another quick aside, I have to say how much I do love and hate every time these guys pop up on screen. Every time the Monokuma show up, they started off with rudely pausing any conversation to pop up with a big graphic in the middle of the screen that says, "Rise and shine, or sign." Rise and shine, or sign! Every damn time this thing pops up, it always puts a big stupid grin on my face, but god damn it, And when they leave, they all in unison shout out, "So long, farewell." So long, farewell! Now, "So long, farewell" I enjoy quite a bit more because it signifies that the madness that we just went through is over. But on a lighter note, there's still a lot of stuff to talk about when it comes to the soundtrack. To tone it up a bit more, there's the music that plays during the class trials that are harsher, more electronic, and tense to accompany the much more dire situation, where everyone is yelling at each other to solve this damn mystery, since if they don't, they might just all die. One such track that I enjoy because god damn I love watching these events happen is the track that plays during the newly added debate scrums. Debate scrums are basically times when the entire trial is split in half over a certain opinion. So what does Monokuma do? Well, split the damn trial in half and move these floating pedestals to be across from each other. In these sections, you got to find a word that is on the other side's case and use it for yourself, which will get a person from your side to refute the falsehood laid before you. It's during these moments where the more electronic part of the soundtrack really gets to shine when you're clenching your teeth and at the edge of your seat trying to figure out what the hell is going on in this crazy trial. And I'm not gonna lie, there are gonna be a few times where you're smacking that desk so damn hard because you want that character to say something to prove that he's not the culprit. But to get back with the soundtrack, I should mention the chiptune version of some songs that come back from the previous games. One that's actually an execution song from Danganronpa 2 that gets de-executed? When I heard it for the first time, I was like, hey, it's that one song from the previous game that shattered my damn heart and clenched my soul. Not to mention they do the thing again where they do that rendition of a normal track and chiptune for when you access the virtual world, which is always a welcome throwback to the previous soundtracks. Also, another quick aside, but for some reason I really like that this virtual world took place in a locale that had a nice calming snowfall. And I don't really know why I enjoyed it so much, but I think it's just because it's so visually and tonally different from what we got, and I just kinda really enjoy that scene. And last but not least, I kind of want to mention a track that only plays once in the entire game, but was so different it didn't just caught me by surprise, but it also gave me a case of deja vu. In a certain chapter of Danganronpa V3, there comes a point where you put in a certain CD and it plays something so different, but so appropriate and welcome for that specific moment. Now, I won't go into detail to refrain from spoiling the scene, but it honestly gave me a damn tear in my eye. But like I said, it made me feel a certain deja vu, and I wonder why, and I wonder where the hell I heard this track before, in such a similar composition too, and when it dawned on me, I thought it was damn brilliant. So to let you figure it out, I'm just gonna let the music speak for itself. That's right, if you've heard that song before and felt that exact composition, that's probably because you played a little game that I honestly loved to death before that's called The Evil Within. And how it's explained is that the composer for Danganronpa V3, and really the composer for all the games, is one Masafumi Takeda, who also brilliantly brought us the soundtrack to one of my favorite horror games, The Evil Within. And if you want to hear me talk about The Evil Within again soon, it won't be waiting too long since, gee, I don't know, it might just, be the topic of my next review or something. Who knows? If there's one thing that I love about Danganronpa, it's how it can create a character or a concept that you absolutely love and its equal ability to take it away from you, constantly averting your expectations in every scene. And from beginning to end, this is what Danganronpa V3 is. A game that is constantly throwing you in for a loop and averting your expectations, and always, like goddamn clockwork, is making you fall in love with characters you know are gonna bite the dust. The game is yet another one of my favorites from this current year, and we really have to give it to Team Danganronpa for making such a damn good visual novel, even though it should really be labeled a detective game. Danganronpa V3 is so close to greatness, but there is one big problem that stymies it from greatness. And that flaw is that it works better. No! Blatantly requires you to have enjoyed the previous games to get the same level of enjoyment that I had playing through Danganronpa V3. With the other games, you could be forgiven for not playing a predecessor since it only really matters to the plot when the game is in its closing stages. But in the case of Danganronpa V3, the closing stages require you to play the other games to fully understand. And it's not just some minor tidbit or two that would explain the whole shebang. It's a piece of the damn puzzle that would unravel the events of all the games and lay it bare. And while I'm at it, I'm also going to disclose that the ending of this game might turn away some longtime fans. I personally myself thought it was a brilliant ending in the theme and tone that it was trying to convey, and it's classically Danganronpa, but some might be horrendously pissed off. Imagine a game that has an ending like Mass Effect 3, but 20 times more absurd, but at the very least, it explains it all and lays it all bare. So it is with great pride, and also some caution, that I give Danganronpa V3 very solid, phenomenal 9 out of 10. Danganronpa V3 is not just another great game, but a fantastic exercise in how we tend to view our media. While it might sound trite since I can't really explain it with too much without spoiling the game, I will say that once you finish the game, it'll have you take another look at what it means to be a participant and how that even through lies and fiction we can perform acts that can change the very world. Of course, I implore you that if you're going to play this game, that you go back and absolutely play through all the other games. It is near damn essential to the experience, and you will thoroughly enjoy all of them. And so with that, we've come to the end of this review. Sorry that this review is kind of light on theatrics. We've sort of come to the time of the year where it takes too damn long to make these things, and there's too many games coming out, and so we gotta play through them, review them, and maybe throw theatrics on the side a little bit. But let's see what other Tom's doing upstairs. Oh boy, it's your boy Tom. Now where you at? Ugh. Oh man. Seems like he's kind of bitten the dust here. Oh my god. Well guys, come to the end of the review. So, Wish you all everything here, and this is Tom the Chosen One, and I'm gonna have to put on my thinking cap to find out who moited this poor bastard. Anyways, I'll see you guys next time.